इस वक्त अप्रोच यही है कि प्रिलिम्स में क्या क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, what could be asked, in what dimensions it could be asked, and how do we go about it. The production will happen through startups. This government scheme is also going to ensure procurement. India wants to have innovative technologies, specifically the deep tech, critical strategic technologies. That's the goal of Aditi. The government has a limitation ki how much money can we give. So they will always mention collaborations, private sector participation. If a sector is more sensitive or more expensive or huge, then there's this idea of partnerships. Public-private partnership models will be explored to set up this. Farming incomes are declining and there are a lot of issues around farmer income. So this is in a way a scheme which not only talks about de-dieselizing or reducing carbon emission in farms, but about increasing farmer income. And what the government is talking about is all ministries who participate, they'll have access to it. And now they're also talking about making this information available to private players. Like if I have taken a project of building a road somewhere, or maybe a port construction job I have taken, then it will be helpful if I know कि हाँ यहाँ road कैसे आ रही है, or what has been completed, or how much time do I have to complete my task, like that. So this portal will be available, or the data of this mapping will be available to private players also. And if you have revised very well, if you're already going into the exam with the confidence that okay, I understand what this is about, and I'll be able to get the right answer.
Most UPSC aspirants fail before they even begin. Here's how you avoid that. The mistake: they jump into preparation without a roadmap, a mentor, or a clear strategy. At Vision IS Delhi, we help you build your UPSC foundation the right way from day one. Get structured coverage, prelims, main CSAT and essay, all broken down step by step so nothing feels overwhelming. Smart current affairs with PT 365 and Mains 365. You focus only on what truly matters, no fluff. Personal mentorship, real one-on-one guidance to help you fix weak areas and boost what you're already good at. Test plus feedback loop, regular tests with detailed feedback so you never lose track of your progress. Don't start blind, start smart with Vision IS Delhi. This is where your serious UPSC journey begins. UPSC preparation is not just about reading books or watching online lectures. It requires personal guidance, real discussions, and structured practice. This is where offline mentoring makes all the difference. Unlike online learning, where doubts often remain unresolved, offline mentoring offers direct interaction, real-time feedback, and an environment of discipline and competition. One-to-one sessions help students get tailored advice, strategy corrections, and focused improvement. Every aspirant has different strengths and weaknesses. Personal mentoring helps address them effectively. Ground discussions sharpen analytical thinking and help students develop a multi-dimensional perspective on issues crucial for prelims, mains, and interview. Elocution sessions help in personality development, clarity of thought, and confidence, essential for UPSC interviews. Test writing is the most crucial part of UPSC preparation. It helps in time management,
structuring answers, and improving content quality. Offline mentoring is not just about teaching, it's about grooming future officers with the right guidance, discipline, and confidence. So, if you are preparing for UPSC, make sure you have the right mentor by your side.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Jasmine Walia, and we are going to be discussing some of the government schemes today. So, first of all, what I want to know from you is, all of you are writing the exam, right? Yes. And all of you must already be preparing your current affairs. For how many of you this is the first attempt? Okay. And this particular portion, the current affairs, it has always appeared as, you know, something which is very, very difficult, just because of the fact that it is very, very factual in nature. For studying this, it becomes kind of a big task. We've been having a few more classes also this week. Have you attended any of those classes also? So have you, some of you might have covered some topics. I'm also be taking some ministries. You all have access to the document. Have you gone through the document? जो ये document है, government schemes wala, right? So it's a long list of many schemes, and I don't know, and maybe this number should be in hundreds. किसी ने count किया? कितनी schemes हैं total? Okay. अच्छा ये बताओ एग्जाम को कितने दिन पड़े? वो भी नहीं, वो तो पता होना चाहिए आपको. No? Counting? Okay, so when is the exam? ये भी श्योर नहीं है आपको? अच्छा ठीक है. देखो, at the closer we get to the exam, obviously studying something new becomes very difficult, because we usually focus about at this time on revision. And all these things, if you've been, you know, going through whatever is happening around you might already be familiar with it. Even if you've not sit and, you know, prepared or learned these schemes, you will have some idea. Some of these schemes are very old, but for some reason when they are in news, we kind of look at them in a way कि okay, इससे question आ सकता है. इस वक्त अप्रोच यही है कि प्रिलिम्स में क्या क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, what could be asked, in what dimensions it could be asked, and how do we go about it. This document, Vision IS has prepared very comprehensively. They told you everything that you need to pick up, but the exercise of coming here to the class is just making that learning a little bit easier for you. So we're going to weave some storytelling, some basic ideas. You will be connecting to different topics, ki why this scheme is there, so that recall value of the topic becomes a little better. And if you go back and just go through these schemes once after the class, you'll be able to really register them a little better as compared to how you would have done it when you were doing it on your own. And if you've already done that, if you already have read these schemes, then of course you'll have that advantage also. Okay, so there are certain ministries which I am picking, so I've arranged these topics according to that. We'll try and interact and talk as much as possible. You don't have to learn everything, and practically also, you know, you cannot learn and remember everything. So we will try and focus on those things which we must know, which are the basic themes, the basic ideas behind a scheme, so that at least that much you know, and the rest of it, prelims has that advantage that it's a multiple choice. Questions are there, the answer is already there, so you have to like identify the answer. So that approximation will also be slightly helpful. We'll see a few questions also related to some of the schemes which are here, so that again you can connect it better with that. So the first is Ministry of Defense. The Ministry of Defense has this scheme which is called the Aditi scheme. Acing development of innovative technologies with IDEX. Okay, so just as a very brief, a very basic idea, what is the goal of producing new technologies for defense? Why would we need to produce new technologies in defense? What? Okay. Okay, reduce the imports, right? That's one very big problem. Okay, new technologies you need to have, because this is a matter of natural security, and if your neighbors or enemies against whom you are protecting yourself, if they have some technology, you need to have them. So either you make them on your own or you import it. Whatever you import, that is expensive. So the idea is कि jitna innovation या technology development you do in your own country, that's going to be better. So this is a scheme in that sense. It's going to be for development of innovative technologies. Now there is this one particular aspect called IDEX in this term, in the name of the scheme itself. So the first thing which we learn about is कि IDEX क्या है. It's an important concept. It's an important idea which the government has brought up. Remember again, we are still talking about Ministry of Defense. ये भी Ministry of Defense का ही program है. So IDEX is innovating defense ecosystem. So the idea is that we have to create an ecosystem where new innovations, new research happens in the field of defense. And this has been around since 2018. Okay, and how they are working is that there are different areas in which technology innovation is needed. The main areas, the main scope is the three branches of the armed forces. So you have army, you have air force, you have the navy. All of these are in a situation where they are facing certain problems or certain things they are not able to do properly. Like let's say the navy has that challenge that when they are underwater surveillance or cameras, they need to get a good approximation, they need to have proper pictures. So that is a problem. So they bring up with different problems and there is a need to find solutions for this. So that is where all the innovative ecosystem is going to be created. Ab isme they have this initiative which has been around for many years now, Defense India Startup Challenge. So there have been a number of such challenges, total of 13th. Abhi jo recent chal raha hai, that is 13th. How they operate is they release a challenge. It's basically like a competition. Okay, कि ये problem है, इसको solve करना है. Anybody who think they can solve it, like they are inviting startups here, different startups working in the area of the defense, you come and solve the problem. जिसका solution सबसे अच्छा होगा, सबसे innovative होगा, सबसे cost effective होगा, that person is going to be the winner of that challenge. And then what they do is the government will give them some grants. कि okay, आपने बहुत अच्छा कैमरा बनाया for underwater surveillance. Now I give you the money to create this product. This is the kind of scheme which has been there for many, many years. Now in this, on the similar lines of bringing in challenges, we have the Aditi challenge. IDEX के अंडर ही है, आइडिया वही है, इनोवेशन करना है डिफेंस टेक्नोलॉजी में ताकि import ना करना पड़े. And the grants which they give, do you understand the meaning of this word grant? What is a grant? एक होता है ग्रांट, एक होता है लोन. क्या डिफरेंस है? रीपे नहीं करना है, that's the difference. When you say loan, that means I want this money back. When I say grant, that means it's your money. I'm just giving it to you. ठीक है, तो ये इस टाइप के चीजें जो हैं, a lot of times in UPSC questions, that is a statement कि इसमें ग्रांट दे रहे हैं या ग्रांट की जगह अगर लोन लिख दिया, then that becomes incorrect. ठीक है, तो इस स्कीम में आईडेक्स के अंडर अदिति है या डिफेंस इंडिया स्टार्टअप है, इट्स गोइंग टू बी अ ग्रांट एंड द अमाउंट इज 1.5 crores. And what the government is doing now is they have kind of, you know, like Amazon and Amazon Prime. So Prime may you get extra features. So this is the same thing which they've done. So they expanded it for some things which will be coming under Index Prime. तो जो इंडेक्स प्राइम के अंडर चैलेंजेस होंगे उसमें 10 crores तक हो सकते हैं. दिस विल यूजुअली बी डिसाइडेड ऑन व्हाट काइंड ऑफ अ रिक्वायरमेंट इज देयर. Okay. And the difference is what you need to know, what you need to specifically understand. When we talk about Aditi and defense, we'll talk about that. Just one more point which you should know here is, any bodies which are specifically designed for a purpose, they automatically become important. So यहाँ पे है एक Defense Innovation Organization or DIO. Okay, so we usually find this written in many places as DIO IDEX. Okay. IDEX is that platform which is going to be creating all of this. Think of IDEX like the executing body. ठीक है, IDEX करेगा, okay, challenge conduct करेगा. The policy perspective that what needs to be done, that will come from DIO. And DIO is formed from two public sector units, HAL and BEL. This is Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and Bharat Electronics Limited. Both of these companies have come together and you have the Defense Innovation Organization. So DIO जो है वो main managing organization है of IDEX and through IDEX of Aditi scheme also. Okay, Aditi scheme इसी का part है. अब Aditi scheme में there is one thing which is different. Like I told you, Defense India Startup Challenge was already there. So why did we need this new scheme? Is that this scheme is doing all the same thing, similar way कि ऐसे the army, the navy, the air force, they'll bring up a challenge, फिर challenges release होंगे, फिर लोग participate करेंगे, फिर then they're going to be given a grant. All those things are the same, but यहाँ पे the special thing is deep tech and strategic technologies, critical deep tech and strategic technologies के लिए है. Now, do you understand what could come in this? When I say critical deep technology or strategic technology, what kind of technologies do you think can come here? See, critical means something which is very important. ठीक है, वो तो critical हो गया. Deep technology में क्या क्या चीजें आ सकती हैं? आजकल जो latest technologies हैं वो क्या क्या हैं? Quantum, ठीक है, AI, virtual reality, augmented reality, deep learning, deep learning चलो उसी में AI में आ जाएगा, nano technology, biotechnology, ये जो specialized technologies हैं, they are a part of deep tech and strategic technology. The need for a new scheme for this was that these technologies are very less developed in India. We are mostly getting all of this from outside. All the development is also taking place outside. But now we want to dedicatedly focus on these technologies, and the government has shortlisted 30 such technologies which they need. Okay, and these 30 technologies are related to the defense sector, but the need for a separate scheme was कि इसको एक तो additional focus देना है. The second thing is these are also more expensive. Like creating a normal computer to creating a quantum computer, the cost is going to be very, very widely different. So here, when you give emphasis to these specific technologies, the idea is you have to incentivize people. They'll be more expensive. So the government plans to spend a lot more money. The total amount is 750 crore rupees, which they plan to spend. And the need is because ये बहुत expensive है, and because we are very, very less developed, you can say, as of now in these. So these sectors need attention. They are growing all over the world. We also need to do it. तो उसी IDEX में एक dedicated scheme है for critical deep tech and strategic technologies. That's the main point of difference. इसमें भी वैसे ही होगा. IDEX के platform पे the government releases challenges. अभी there have been 3 such, you can say, competitions or 3 editions of Aditi which have come up. So इसमें actually the document says current Aditi 2.0, but अभी 3.0 भी आ चुका है. 3rd edition भी आ चुका है. The last one was for some problems related to Navy only, naval exercises. So they bring up some problems and they ask people, they ask startups, please create a solution for this. Then they judge who gives the best solution, and accordingly, they're going to be giving away the grants. Tenure क्या है इसका? 2023-24. So financial years में होते हैं schemes के सब budget to budget timelines to 26. 2025 to 2026, and the total amount which is to be spent on developing, the target is ये 30 different technologies develop करनी है, that is 750 crore rupees. I've taken this content from your document only, but I've selected the things which I feel you must know, which will kind of simplify your job slightly. And the role is to foster collaboration between startups, MSMEs, and established industrial players. The eligibility in this, or the way we have to think about how the projects will integrate or create that collaboration between different kinds of operations is, it can be a startup, it can be an Indian company, or an individual innovator, right? There's some scientist who's working, he can also apply on its own, right? The provision under this scheme is ki, okay, you can apply as an individual, but if you get the grant, then you have to incorporate into a company, into a startup, okay? Because the production will happen through startups. The government, this government scheme is also going to ensure procurement. It's not just that I've created a product and that product has been proven, chalo competition bhi jeet liya, prize bhi mil gaya, and after that what? You've given me 1.5 crores, I've created an underwater camera, now what do I do with it? So they are also integrating this with procurement. कि इसके बाद government खरीदेगी भी आपसे. That's also integrated into this, so that people are incentivized. Okay, this is going to be a long-term business for me. There is one more aspect here, which they are saying partner incubator. Do you understand this word incubator? अभी startups के culture में this term is very commonly used. जैसे if I tell you कि okay, IIT Madras has an incubator for startups, what do you think that will mean? Okay, exchange platform, what else? Just somewhere where you can like maybe there's a professor studying teaching a particular topic, he's there to guide about the development. Then there are a group of people who are already working in that particular area, they are there to share their expertise. Maybe there is some machinery, some equipment which can be shared. Like some of these things are very, very expensive. So that kind of a scenario where big firms or big enterprises or institutions can partner to help these startups or help these individuals grow, तो वो होगा partner incubator. So इस scheme में challenges के लिए the people will come and participate. Along with that, there is also a procedure where partner incubators will come, and the government's idea is that we want those incubators or those companies which have been there for at least 5 years and are related to defense related startups. Just to say कि they should have some experience in this. तो 10 startups कम से कम होने चाहिए, and there's also a provision कि at least 3 should be working. कि ऐसा नहीं है आपने 10 startup खोले 10 के 10 बंद हो गए. That means you're not very good at whatever you are doing. Right? So partners, incubators will apply, individual people will apply, and what they are going to get is, both of these will get government support. Incubator को भी government पैसे देती है, and the innovator which is there or the startup which is there, they're also be getting funds. There is also this idea that during the tenure of this scheme, so the scheme is till 2026, they need to create a network of 10 incubators so that they can have like a long-term system where new startups, new innovations could be encouraged. So 10 innovators will be, 10 incubators will be there to offer specialized support and mentorship. और individuals के लिए grant in aid है up to 50% of product development cost. Okay, That means the rest of the money you pay on your own, and it is capped at 25 crore per winner. And in every challenge, like the first edition of Aditi, when it came, it brought in 17 challenges. And in every challenge, there can be 2 winners. Okay, like first and second, 2 people will get the grant. And that grant, that is capped at 25 crores or 50% of the product development cost. So they get this money, and they get the help of partner incubators with which then they can design their product. The overall goal is that India wants to have innovative technologies, specifically the deep tech, critical strategic technologies. That's the goal of Aditi. And all those other ideas also can be integrated. Like you can think of Make in India also. In this particular scheme, along with procurement in the Indian defense, Indian security system, the government also has this idea that we also want to create something which we can sell. So they also look at it as from the terms of export. कि हम export भी करेंगे, ये जो startup है that can make a good business with a good technology with our help, and then India can also start exporting as opposed to the current situation where we are importing a lot of this technology. ठीक है? So Aditi scheme, IDEX is for innovation in defense. IDEX is, there is also this department which you need to know. The idea, the framework is in Department of Defense Procurement. Ministry of Defense के अंडर ये डिपार्टमेंट है डेडिकेटेडली जो काम कर रहा है फॉर दिस. Whatever is the nodal agency, जिसका भी स्कीम है जहां से ऑपरेशन हो रहा है, that is something which you should know. So there's Ministry of Defense, उसके अंडर you have Department of Defense Procurement, which is created IDEX, and then they have a specially designed body also, DIO, Defense Innovation Organization, that will look at the day-to-day policy making. This is the department of the government which will do the overall coordination. Aditi का unique point या special point यही है, 30 critical deep tech strategic technologies have to be developed till 2026. ठीक है? Okay. Next है Ministry of Electronics and IT, और यहाँ पे the scheme which is there, that is something which you will all already know about. This has been around for so many years. So Digital India program. The news is कि इसको 9 years हो गए हैं. Next year they'll say इसको 10 years हो गए हैं. Again they'll make it important. But still, what do you understand by Digital India program? क्या होता है इसमें? Or a simpler question could be, what all things will come under making India digital? Wi-Fi connection, okay. Rural internet connectivity, ठीक है. What else? Financial transactions, yes. So we have your UPI, that could be something. What else? Everything के तो example पूछ रहे हो, वो तो बताओ. E-documents, okay. Digital land records, digitalization in agriculture. Okay, digital linked schemes, and things like, you know, how we can access government services online. You apply for a passport, you apply for a voter ID card, all of that can happen online. You can store that online. Then government transactions have to take place online. Instead of sending a letter, they'll send you an email. These kind of changes in all sectors. So basically, this is not one dedicated scheme. It's an umbrella scheme, a scheme which includes many aspects. That's going to be an umbrella scheme. This kind of a scheme also needs integration with a lot of different ministries, a combined working of states, UTs, all of them have to come together for the working. Goal kya hai? Digital empowerment karna hai. Everything has to be brought on the digital format and digital delivery of services. So ये इसका basic idea है to transform India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. So this is an umbrella program for e-governance. What is e-governance? Electronic governance. Again, all the ideas, जब government digital medium use करेगी, जैसे government बोलेगी subsidy will come into your account, right? Applications of everything have to go online. All these things will become a part of e-governance. Then implementation के लिए भी there is no specific body, one body which will do it. Of course, Ministry of Electronics is going to be doing the overall coordination, but the entire government has to become a part of it because every aspect of government has to become digital. ठीक है? अब इसमें जो है there is this chart which is made in this document which is talking about the 9 pillars of digital India. This kind of summarize everything. You know, sometimes when we are thinking, we know all of these things, we understand all of these, but we don't get really the terms, right? So when you say everything, so this is the specifics of that everything. ठीक है? क्या क्या है इसमें? IT jobs. आपको डिजिटल इंडिया बनाना है, that means you're also creating new jobs in the IT sector specifically. Then information for all. The information should be available for all and all के लिए information access देना है. So the easiest way is through internet connectivity, which goes right to everybody. Then broadband. So you will in this sense have a lot of schemes which can become a part of this. Like if you have a rural internet connectivity scheme, there's this idea of Bharat Net which is supposed to be there. वो इसमें आ जाएगा. Then universal access to phones. The most basic digital device which you can provide would be the phone. Then public internet access programs. Like in many places, public Wi-Fis are being set up. जैसे railway stations पे you'll have the rail yatri Wi-Fi which is there. So things like that. E-Kranti, electronic delivery of service, e-governance, reforming government through technology. Then electronic manufacturing, target net zero imports. So we don't want to import. Again, ये हर चीज में आएगा. Wherever you'll read about any kind of production or doing anything, one very major idea will be कि manufacturing India में. Currently, digital systems में we do a lot of software related work, but we don't do a lot of hardware related work. Like our cell phones are most of the components at least of the cell phones are not made in India. तो ये भी एक aspect है कि digitization कर रहे हैं, तो at least it should be our people who should be getting the jobs. We should be doing manufacturing. Then you have early harvest programs. Do you know what this means? This has nothing to do with agriculture, first of all. वो वाला harvesting नहीं है. Early harvest is a basic term which means that immediate change कौन सा ला सकते हो. तो immediate changes या short term application of anything, like the government can one day say that okay, all government communications will happen over email, no other mode. This is an early harvest scheme. Okay, or any other such description which will be applied कि आज से ऐसा होगा, उसको वो short term application के लिए whatever different governments will choose will become a part of early harvest programs. Okay. Now there are a few key areas under this. Providing digital infrastructure as a source of utility for every citizen. So infrastructure is one part. If you can, just comprehend all of this in 3 points. So one is going to be digital infrastructure. Sorry. Then you have governance and services, like they mentioned e-governance, right? And digital empowerment of every citizen. person can be anywhere, but he'll have access to all the services, all the information from anywhere. That is the digital empowerment. Everything from financial transactions to getting any kind of government information that can be done digitally. It kind of brings a lot of transparency in the process and increases connectivity if you can do it in the digital mode. Okay, तो ये 3 इसके main aspects हैं. ठीक है, इस पे question भी था एक, which has already been asked. Just look at this question. So what should be the answer to this? I am hoping you all are already doing previous year questions and you know the answer to this. No? Okay. Okay. All right. Which of the following are the aims of Digital India plan? So this is a very common thing to ask about a scheme. That what is this scheme for? इसका क्या objective है, क्या purpose है, क्या aim है? Any of these words you can have in the paper, but it will mostly come down to the same thing. The idea which you have to explore is which of these things you feel fit with Digital India and which do not fit with Digital India. Don't get very confused with कि अब aim लिखा है, objective लिखा है, या purpose लिखा है, ये क्या लिखा है. एक ही मतलब है, ये prelims है. ठीक है, answer is there. You have to see if it's right or if it's wrong. So first is formation of India's own internet companies like China, right? It doesn't sound right. Even if you don't know the scheme, still it's like we have other things to worry about. Even if we want to compete with China, we are never going to put it in a legal document कि गवर्नमेंट स्कीम में लिखा है कि ये चाइना के लिए बनाई है हमने. ऐसा नहीं कर सकते ना, तो ये तो गलत हो जाएगा. ओके, नहीं कर सकते आप. यस, यू कैन नॉट डू इट, राइट. हमारी वो तो जब जिससे आप compete नहीं कर सकते उसको बोल दो कि तुम्हारी तो आइडियोलॉजी हमें पसंद नहीं है. हाँ? Okay, fine. Okay, establish a policy framework to encourage overseas multinational corporation that collect big data to build their large data centers within our national geographical boundaries. Right? It's so far-fetched, right? That we want to encourage big data companies of other countries, so we are going to make our whole country digital. We will use Facebook, then you can take our data, then you can store and send us ads, then we'll buy shoes, right? So it happens, of course, but that cannot be the goal of a whole scheme. So this is also incorrect. Then connect many of our villages to internet and bring Wi-Fi to many of our schools, public places and major tourists, right? ये थोड़ा कुछ सही लग रहा है, तो ये होगा आंसर. For this, you really didn't need to read the scheme, right? Without reading the scheme also, some basic idea, you have to have that confidence on the final day of the exam. That's what makes all the difference. If you know you've read a lot of things, if you know you have been into this process and you understand a lot of things, then some application of that overall understanding which you have developed, that is going to be very, very helpful. And that is one thing which you have to actively tell yourself also. That even if I had not read something, I might still be able to approximate to it in some way. Okay, if I have an overall idea about what is happening around me. Next is Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Okay, now what all things will come under new and renewable energy? What kind of sources would be there? Solar, okay, right, सबसे बड़ा solar है. What else? Wind, ठीक है, और hydrogen. hydro also in some way, small hydro plants hote hain, okay, nuclear. What is the need of these resources? Why do we need new and renewable energy resources, and why did it become so important that we had to create a separate ministry for that? Okay, sustainability, non-fossil, what else? Energy security. Right. So first of all, of course, energy security is one problem. Traditionally, we use fossil fuels like coal. Coal is limited. Coal will finish one day, right? Energy needs are increasing. India is a developing country, needs a lot of energy. So we need to develop some alternatives. We cannot wait कि one day there will be no coal and then we will think कि अच्छा कुछ और use करेंगे. So we are developing technologies, and the need specifically for these new and renewable, new तो है, new तो इसलिए चाहिए because the old one can get exhausted. But renewable specifically is needed because they are cleaner fuels. We need a lot of fuels which are cleaner, which don't give us carbon emission, which don't pollute the environment. And when they pollute the environment, they lead to global warming. So in this, under this ministry, under this idea, we are talking about removing fossil fuels. We are talking about removing sources which produce a lot of carbon so that we can limit that. At the same time, we can maintain sustainable supply so that our next generations will have energy. And the first thing here is National Green Hydrogen Mission. Okay. Hydrogen is the fuel here. The first idea you need to understand about hydrogen is that fuel इसमें क्या है? Anything which burns, like a carbon source also, तो वो oxygen में burn होता है. But यहाँ पे the very good thing is you get water. The best part of hydrogen as a fuel is कि इसको burn करने से you get water. You burn coal, you get carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, all these gases which are harmful, which are polluting, they cause respiratory diseases, they increase global warming, all those problems. Here you get water, right? That's the big advantage of using hydrogen as a fuel. But in hydrogen also, we use different ways in which this hydrogen is produced. ये hydrogen कहाँ से आएगा? This is one question here. So hydrogen can come from fossil fuels. You burn methane, you will get it, right? This green hydrogen specifically is not just hydrogen, but a hydrogen which is produced using renewable energy. That means इसके प्रोडक्शन में भी कोई कार्बन emission नहीं होना चाहिए. That is the big advantage. So the government, when it started talking about hydrogen as a fuel, so first they had the hydrogen mission, ठीक है? फिर उसके बाद जो next step है, जो अब maximum highlight हो रहा है, वो है कि हाइड्रोजन नहीं, green hydrogen चाहिए. Green hydrogen means the production of this hydrogen is happening using renewable source of energy. This is a very basic diagram explaining it. So, एक energy source जो है renewable होगा. अगर एक और process है where you use coal, उसको बोलते हैं grey hydrogen. So, grey hydrogen programs are also there in India, but above that grey hydrogen, green is being popularized through this National Green Hydrogen Mission. So you use this energy source, then there is an electrolyzer जिसमें hydrogen use होगा, फिर जिसमें पहले hydrogen produce होगा. Production is also from water. You have to break down water, then you get hydrogen. So electrolyzer में hydrogen produce होगा, then you can use it for energy. And the current system of use it, you mix it with natural gas. We are not in a position right now to use hydrogen alone, but we are mostly using it as a mixture of already the gases which we are using. Mainly it can be methane, which can be used as a fuel, or you can add it to natural gas. So natural gas में some portion of hydrogen will be added. So the idea is there's a net zero emission. ना इसके production में emission हुआ, carbon emission, carbon release हुआ, or neither in its use. So this whole process produces no carbon. So this is called green hydrogen. Okay, is this fine? There is one more, not really related to the scheme, but एक blue hydrogen भी है. Blue hydrogen में what happens is it is produced by using carbon. We use the idea carbon capture. You must have read this in environment. So if hydrogen which is produced, which is going to be used, that is produced through carbon capture, तो अब ये उस तरफ से negative हो गया कि carbon use हो जा रहा है. ठीक है, that's even better than green hydrogen, but a little difficult. So that's why this is something which still can be done. So green hydrogen use for net zero emissions. So hydrogen अब बन गया, we have hydrogen gas, ठीक है? Now you want to use it. We are using it for energy. So how we use it normally is you mix it with natural gas. Hydrogen is a gas. It will be used as a gas. तो इसको आप existing जो भी gas use कर रहे हैं energy के लिए उसमें mix कर दोगे, कुछ percentage इसका आ जाएगा, बाकी जो natural gas है वो रहेगी. ठीक है? Okay. ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है? एक तो आत्मनिर्भर, अगेन हर जगह पे वी आर importing a lot of energy, right? We get a lot of our oil from outside, petroleum is coming from outside, so that's very expensive. If you want to produce something in India which will be cheaper, so Atmanirbhar, being self-reliant, cheaper fuel, and of course cleaner energy. Then there's this idea of net zero emissions. You know about this target of net zero emission? What is this? Can anybody tell me? Okay, so we have targets. Okay, Paris Agreement. And okay, so you have United Nations Climate Change Framework, which is like a collection for all the different countries of the world. They come together and they talk about how we are going to solve global warming problems. And in that, the idea is that you have to become net zero in emission. How to become net zero in emission is that whatever carbon emission you are creating, whatever carbon you are releasing, you must be consuming it somewhere else. तो आपको एक balance करना है कि like India as a whole will not produce any carbon emission. जितना प्रोड्यूस करेगा उतना किसी और दूसरे टेक्नोलॉजी से यूज कर लेगा. दैट्स द आइडिया. नाउ ट्रांजिशन टू दीज टेक्नोलॉजीज टेक प्लेस, right? If I have to start using hydrogen, I already have systems which are there. I have vehicles which are there. I have cars which are there. I'll have to change everything, right? From production to use to all the infrastructure. So it takes time. So what was decided in the world was कि everybody will decide for themselves कि आप कब तक कर लोगे बता दो. सो इंडिया ने बताया कि हम करेंगे 2070 तक. ग्लोबली कंट्रीज के लिए जो टाइमलाइन है दैट्स 2050. इंडिया or developing countries in that sense take a little bit of leeway in that. So we have a target of net zero by 2070. So any technology which we create which is in line with this, कि इससे कार्बन emission नहीं होगा और this is not going to add to carbon emission, that kind of becomes an addition, and that is always mentioned as कि this is in line with our long term goal of becoming net zero. ठीक है, so दो मेन इसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हो गए, सेल्फ रिलायंस, प्रोड्यूसिंग योर ओन एनर्जी, क्लीनर एनर्जी, एंड ऑफ कोर्स द लॉन्ग टर्म गोल ऑफ नेट जीरो एमिशन. नाउ some other points about this scheme. To make India a global hub for producing, utilizing, exporting green hydrogen and its derivatives, अगेन द सेम आइडिया, पहले सेल्फ रिलायंस, फिर नेक्स्ट आइडिया वी से कि अभी हम बेचेंगे अभी बना के, ठीक है. तो विल बिकम अ ग्लोबल हब ऑफ हाइड्रोजन फ्यूल. इट्स अ सेंट्रल सेक्टर स्कीम. व्हाट इज अ सेंट्रल सेक्टर स्कीम? सेंट्रल सेक्टर मीन्स एवरीथिंग बाय द सेंटर, ठीक है, और किसी को कुछ नहीं करना है, सारे पैसे सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट करेगी. इट्स अ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट स्कीम. वी यूज दिस वर्ड सेंट्रली स्पॉन्सर्ड, ठीक है. तो जहां पे स्पॉन्सर्ड आएगा, that means some part I'll sponsor, some you give. So the states pay a share, center gives one part. Center sector means everything center will do. Timeline है, so 2023 से 2030 तक, 29-30. That's the timeline for this scheme. And the target is 5 million metric ton per year by 2030. And if you expand, if you export also, to 10 million. Now, in this particular scheme, there are two aspects which you have to work on. There are two levels which have to be there. Currently, we are not producing a lot of this green hydrogen. So the first 5 years of this scheme are going to be dedicated, the first 3 years in fact, are going to be dedicated to building equipment. That we want to first produce electrolyzers. This is a new machine, this is a new setup which we are going to create. So we will need to set up a lot of plants which will be able to do that. So the first phase of the scheme is कि पहले electrolyzers set up करो, electrolyzers का production, that should also happen in India. And then once these are in place, then you talk about increasing their capacity to produce hydrogen. Okay, so these are the two steps. So it is not going to immediately start with production of hydrogen or export of hydrogen. First, you set up manufacturing for electrolyzer, and once that is done in the second phase, hydrogen production. Okay, these are the two steps which have to go about in this particular scheme. These are the different components which the same idea which they have explained here. First of all, you have to create demand for this new fuel. Then you have to incentivize supply chain. And in this, you have electrolyzer manufacturing and green hydrogen production. There are going to be direct financial incentives in both these areas. Electrolyzer manufacturers के लिए भी, and when they finally produce green hydrogen. Then ये सब बहुत generic सी चीजें हैं, nothing specific है. Resources, infrastructure, research and development, regulations, ease of doing business. In India, there is this, in almost all schemes you will find this. Whenever some kind of innovation or technology or something is supposed to be done on a very large scale, private sector is supposed to get involved. So all the schemes, because government has a limitation ki how much money can we give. So they will always mention collaborations, private sector participation. If a sector is more sensitive or more expensive or huge, then there's this idea of partnerships. Public-private partnership models will be explored to set up this. And because like this technology is new, setup is not there, so everything will have to be created around it. क्या rules होंगे, costing कैसे होगी, market कैसे work करेगा, how can you procure, can foreign players come in, all of that has still to be developed. So these are all of these points come into that. Everything from skill building to ease of doing business, regulations, R&D, supply chain. Even if you just take a look at these broad subheadings, it's good enough. There's nothing very specific or unique under this. The main idea is that, okay, these are the components, demand create karna hai, you incentivize the supply, and some other steps government will take to enable the whole process. That is it. What you need to know is, first of all, what is green hydrogen? That actually has already been asked. It was not a question directly on the scheme, so I didn't put it here, but that they have already asked, कि green hydrogen है क्या? ठीक है. Green hydrogen is hydrogen which will be produced using renewable sources of energy. It's a clean fuel. The byproduct is water, so it's a very safe, no carbon emission. करना क्यों है ये? Because you want self-reliance, you want to produce your own energy. You are currently very import dependent, and the whole idea of net zero emission, cleaner fuel, sustainable development, that is needed. Two key things in this particular scheme is electrolyzer manufacturing and then green hydrogen production. पहले ये और फिर ये timeline is till 2030. ठीक है? Okay. There's one more aspect in this, that is a lot of ministries are involved here. Like in the beginning, I asked you what was the need for this new ministry. So that ministry is there, but along with that, because it's going to be linked with a lot of other existing power setups, in the existing processes of energy use. So these ministries will also play a role. And because this is a long-term idea, and because it has things like research development and skill development, so many different ministries will be integrated into the final execution. But the leading ministry is your new and renewable energy. Then you have Ministry of Power, because existing jitne bhi hamare power generation हो रहा है, the electrical supply which you get, the power plants which are there, they're thermal power plants. So they are going to be operated under Ministry of Power. So if it has to integrate into that someday, so that is going to be needed. Then you also have Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. So because you'll need refineries and gas distribution system, like I told you, कि gas में mix करके it can be used. That's the easiest way in which it is going. Then Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. So you can also use this hydrogen for production of green ammonia based fertilizers. We are also finding other uses of this hydrogen. Other than power also, it can be used in different areas. One of those areas is producing green ammonia based fertilizers. और फिर बाकी ministry and transport, steel, shipping, finance. You don't really need to remember this, it's fine. The only idea you keep in mind is बहुत सारे ministries involved हैं. Nodal ministry जरूर याद रखना है, ठीक है? Hydrogen है, so think about it. New and renewable and resources, new and renewable energy ministry, ठीक है? And remember this कि बहुत सारे और ministries भी हैं, ठीक है? Now the next scheme under this ministry only is Kusum. Civil servants are brilliant in creating these acronyms. That's what your job is going to be in a few years from now. कि कुछ catchy नाम चाहिए, Aditi, Kusum. No? So this is Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Suraksha एवं उत्थान महाअभियान, या फिर प्यार से आप इसे कुसुम बोल सकते हो, ठीक है? So this is now on solar energy. So first one was hydrogen fuel, अब ये है solar energy scheme. Okay. There was actually this scheme, different types of schemes on solar energy, or discussion on solar energy has been there for a very long time, and you have a number of schemes which are there. But once government creates a new scheme, so it slightly sometimes changes some specifics into it. जैसे कि ये जो scheme है, this comes with one very specific part where there is going to be water pumps which will be produced, which will be using solar power. So the objective of this scheme is to ये actually इसमें है नहीं, लिखा नहीं हुआ. So if you want to note, you can add this. So the term which the government is using, dieselize the farm sector. So farms में जो भी equipment use हो रहा है, maybe for running of tube wells or any other kind of machinery, the main fuel which is used is diesel. Now what is the problem with diesel? Expensive, polluting, right? That whole idea, carbon emission and all of that. Plus, it's imported. We are not producing any diesel. So, all those ideas, again, we want to produce something in India. We want to have our own source. And farming sector mein cost sensitivity becomes very important. Farming incomes are declining and there are a lot of issues around farmer income. So this is in a way a scheme which not only talks about de-dieselizing or reducing carbon emission in farms, but about increasing farmer income. And for farmer, actually, that becomes a bigger point. The farmer wants to make more money and he might not be very happy about reduced carbon emission, but this is something very, very significant. Because in farming, what is happening is, we don't have alternative sources of income. कि जो production होगा, and a lot of places agriculture is also declining, irrigation नहीं कर सकते, irrigation is expensive. So this idea kind of covers a lot of those things. इसमें क्या idea है? That you are going to be setting up solar panels to produce solar energy on any land available to any individual. This scheme is mainly around agricultural land or farmers. तो किसी भी farmer के पास कोई खाली land है, वो वहाँ पे solar panel लगा सकता है, उससे energy produce होगी. Now that energy he can use or he can sell it to the main energy provider. जो grid से main electricity आ रही है, like we are receiving electricity from some discom, some energy production company. So if I produce my own solar energy, I use some of it, and if I have that as extra, I can sell it back. So that becomes a source of income for me. Especially if I have any land which is barren. कि इस पे खेती तो हो नहीं सकती, कुछ नहीं हो सकता, घर भी मेरा बना हुआ, I don't want to do anything. Now what I can do is I can just set up solar panels there, I produce electricity and I sell that electricity. That becomes an additional source of income for me. The second idea in this is that I will do irrigation using solar energy. I am going to use pumps to draw water. The pumps will run on solar energy. तो ये जो pumps है अब ये main grid से connected नहीं है, उसमें कोई electricity आ नहीं रही है. It is going to be an off-grid system. You set up a pump, the pump works with solar power. And that means if I was earlier not able to use use any other form of irrigation, now this is something which I can use. It will improve my input cost. I'll be able to have efficient pumps and sunlight is free. So once I put in the initial system, then I am sorted. So इसमें ये दो ideas हैं, and there's a target to add solar capacity of 34.8 gigawatts by March 2026 through these off-grid. ये सारे off the grid हैं. Off-grid means it's not the main supply system, or it's not like a solar power plant which is being set up to supply the whole city. Nothing like that. It's an off-grid. Individually, लोग अपने छोटे से land पे, अपने pump पे जो है, they are going to be producing solar power.
Stop wasting hours on scattered current affairs preparation. Visionized Digital Current Affairs Premium gives you AI-powered answers, expert feedback, and structured revision all in one place. Instant AI answers, no more endless searches, get precise syllabus-aligned insights in seconds. Daily answer writing, expert feedback to sharpen your mains responses. Quick notes and highlights, organize, revise, and retain key concepts effortlessly. Plus, free features. Daily news summaries from the Hindu and Indian Express, quizzes and MCQs to test your progress, and downloadable PDFs for seamless revision. Study smarter, not harder. To know more, visit our website now.
Preparing for the UPSC Civil Services examination demands a solid grasp of every mains paper. Among them, The optional subject paper plays a crucial role in determining your final rank. A strong command over your optional subject can give you the competitive edge needed for success. To help you master this crucial aspect, Vision IAS presents the Optional Classroom Program 2026, available in live online and classroom offline modes for Geography, Sociology, Political Science and International Relations. Batch starts from 20th June, 2 p.m.
In this, there are three components. First component is a decentralized solar plant. That idea which I told you कि barren land है, fallow land है, वहाँ पे आप अपना power plant लगाओ. Then the next idea is that you have a standalone solar pump. ये जो figures है ना, these are actually disputed. I checked it in a number of places. So different figures are there even on government websites. So this is a little slightly dicey. So you can leave these things. कि target क्या है? But yeah, standalone solar pump and grid connected pump solarization. The third component here is that you connect your solar pump to the grid also. Again, that idea that if you produce more energy, it can be sold back to the grid. These companies are going to be incentivized by the government. कि तुम इनसे electricity खरीदो, हम तुम्हें पैसे देंगे. They've like mentioned it also here. कि 40 paisa per kilowatt is going to be paid to the company for buying the electricity of these people who will produce solar income. So one, of course, the company is going to pay for whatever electricity they have bought, but along with that, government उनको incentivize कर रही है कि हाँ तुम ले लो उनसे. And what the government is going to do in this is that the government is going to be giving funds, giving financial incentives for doing all of this, for setting all these pumps. That's the idea here, and this is a central financial system, assistant system. So again, central sector scheme hai. All the money for setting up all these pumps, jo power plant hai, jo bhi hai, that's going to be given by the government. And the standard is that they'll give 30% support. And in the special states, which is Northeast, Hilly, Island regions, 50% support. Remaining cost, the beneficiary has to bear. So in a way, it's kind of a, you can say, subsidy scheme or partial incentive scheme that, okay, we'll give you some money so that you're encouraged to do this, but then you pay rest of it. Can you tell me why more money is going to be given to the Northeast and Hilly and Island states? इंडस्ट्रीज वहाँ ज़्यादा हैं इसलिए, कम है, ओके. So, of course, lack of development is one thing, one issue. Geographical condition is also one factor. They don't have a lot of space to set up large things because of the hilly topography. ठीक है, तो larger area उनके पास है नहीं. अगर पंप भी डालेंगे तो वो बहुत सारी जगह पे लग नहीं सकता. So just to incentivize that and the smaller scale which is there, they are going to be given a little bit more money. Who all can participate in this? Any individual farmer, a group of farmers, farmer producer organization, अगर कहीं पे farmers का कोई group है, पंचायत है, cooperatives or water association, somebody who is managing an irrigation system, any of these people are eligible to be a part of this scheme. Scheme के दो components है. One, if you have barren land, you set up a solar power plant, you sell the power back to the DISCOM. The government gives some incentive to you, around 30% to set up that whole thing to bear the cost, and it gives some incentive to the DISCOM. Second concept is you set up your own solar water pump. A pump which will use solar energy to work. That's a standalone pump which you are going to set up. And the third is कि आप pump तो होगा आपका, but you connect that pump back to the grid so that if you produce extra power, then that's not goes waste. That becomes an extra source of income. So for the farmer after the initial cost saves money on electricity. He does not have to continuously bear the cost of electricity because he's producing his own power. Plus, it's a little bit more reliable than the power which would be coming because now he's producing this on his own location. It's on that site itself. So, he has that advantage. And of course, the greater advantage of clean energy, cleaner fuel. And again, going towards our target of net zero emission by the use of solar energy. ठीक है? Okay. So, Kusum scheme is for your solar water pumps. Okay. All right. The next scheme, this is actually a new scheme. Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. Actually, not exactly a new scheme, but a newly packaged scheme. Okay. There was an older scheme. First, let me tell you about the older scheme. We are still in that same ministry, New and Renewable Energy Ministry. तो एक ही scheme थी, Grid Connected Rooftop Solar Program. Okay. And the target of that scheme was 40 gigawatt rooftop solars by 2022. This was the target. But of course, this target got missed. We could not complete this target. In fact, the performance of this scheme was very, very bad. So what the government did was, government brought a new scheme. कि अभी इसका target map नहीं करेंगे. We'll bring a new scheme with the same idea, but this is now called PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. And वो जो grid connected scheme है, that now becomes a part of this scheme only. वो इसी के अंदर subsume है. जो भी existing scheme होती है, उसको if it's on the same idea, they kind of package it or put it into the same thing. So that grid connected rooftop scheme, that is now a part of this scheme. And the extension of that target of that scheme, originally it was 2022, then they gave an extension कि नहीं अभी 26 तक करेंगे. और एक बहुत बढ़िया और काम किया है इसमें कि इसमें कैपेसिटी कम कर दी है. उसमें थे 40 गीगावाट्स अचीव करने, अभी 30 करने, शायद हो जाए, पता नहीं. ठीक है, बिकॉज originally under that grid connected scheme it was not even 15, like 13 point something gigawatts were done. तो 13.7 let's say हो चुके हैं, तो अभी 30 तक टोटल करना है कैपेसिटी. आइडिया क्या है? रूफटॉप है, किसी के भी घर पे ऊपर छत पे लगाओ सोलर पैनल. So this scheme is specifically for households. Remember this one thing, when you think about eligibility या कहाँ ये लग सकता है, in this scheme, the specific idea is residential rooftop. Vision IAS cannot do it on its roof. Okay, no commercial establishment can do it on this roof. This is only for residential rooftops. So residential places में, houses में जो है, on their roofs they can set up solar panels and the government will give a subsidy. ये भी subsidy scheme है. That means the government pays a part of that whole setting up of that system and then you pay the rest of it. So for being a part of this scheme, one criteria has to be that you should have a house. Second criteria is the house should have a roof, right? In Delhi, your house might not have a roof also. The other thing is that you should not be a part of any other solar related scheme. This is also a government's condition because the government wants to benefit as many people as they want. So sometimes they give an exclusion कि अगर आपने और कोई scheme में try की है solar वाली पहले, then you will not be able to try. Okay, but otherwise everybody is eligible for this. The target is 1 crore rooftop solar systems will be installed, and the potential which they see here is that up to 300 units can become free. Of course it will vary कि आप कितना solar panel लगा रहे हो, कितने volt का system लगा रहे हो, that will make a difference, but around 300 units तक free होगा. इसमें एक और condition भी है that you should have an existing electricity connection. Okay, ऐसा नहीं कि आप बिजली चोरी कर रहे हो और साथ में ये भी लगा रहे हो, so it will not be work. You also need a registered proper electricity connection also in your house. क्यों करना है ये? Boost local economy, employment generation, and again those things, renewable energy, cleaner fuels. This is a central financial assistance scheme. Central sector scheme, the government will pay some part. Now that some part will depend on the size. Like they have created this whole table कि कितने पैसे government देगी, ये देखो. So depending on how big you want to set up your system, so for the first 2 kilowatts, the price is 30,000 per kilowatt. So if you have a 2 kilowatt system, you get 60,000 from the government. After that, if you want to like set up a total of 3 kilowatts, so for every additional 1 kilowatt, for that the government will give 18,000 rupees. That's how they'll calculate. जैसे 1.5 का they've calculated. 1.5 into 30, and if you have more than 2, फिर वो last वाले 0.5 के लिए it is going to be 18,000. So if you have 1.5, you get 45,000. If you have 2.5, you get 69,000 from the government. ये इन्होंने गलत लिखा हुआ है. This is not, I think from the last scheme they've copied or something. So ये है special states का. Special states, like we've just now talked about, special states gets a little bit more money. ठीक है, तो उनका price थोड़ा सा और ज़्यादा है, right? And so depending on what size you set up, based on that, you're going to get the money. It approximately comes to somewhere around 40% of the total cost. So 40% you pay, 40% the government pays, the rest you pay. And rest of the money के लिए इसमें एक special provision है that you get a collateral free loan. What is a collateral? Okay. So you have to keep something as a collateral in the sense that if you buy a car and that's on the loan, so the collateral is your car. So if you don't pay back the loan, they're going to take your car away. ठीक है? ये जिसको बोलते हैं गिरवी रखना. ठीक है? That kind of an idea. So in this scheme, how the government is still incentivizing is that they'll give you collateral free loans. You don't have to place anything or pledge anything, but without that also, you'll be able to get a loan for the rest of the cost which you have to bear. Then there is a national portal. That's the reason why this has been in news also. They've made a portal also, a digital portal. Portal is for applying for this scheme. Okay, I want this, please, for my rooftop, I want to apply for the subsidy. Then you can buy also solar panels and set up service. You can be connected to different networks, different distributors. For all of that, they have a portal. And one more very significant and special part of this scheme is that they're going to set up a model solar village. Model solar village का idea क्या है? One village in each district will be having solar rooftops dedicatedly prepared in all the houses. And for that, the village panchayat is going to be incentivized. They also have ideas under this scheme that any panchayat or any region which does very well in terms of rooftop solar panels, there are going to be some monetary incentives, some awards and recognition also for this. But ये एक idea है कि ये बनाना ही बनाना है कि एक village which is going to be a model village for in every district which will have solar panels on all the rooftops. Then this is a central sector scheme. Tenure is 2024 to 26-27. 3 years का timeline है. 1 crore rooftops panel लगाने हैं. Total capacity 30 gigawatts. Subsidy scheme है. Some money the government will give depending on the size of your plant, and the rest of it you pay yourself or you get a collateral free loan. ठीक है? Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. वो डिपेंड करता है आपको मिल कितने की रही है. That will also decide, right? Where are you buying it from? What is that cost of that whole thing? 60,000 है वो. 60% of the total cost कुछ नहीं है. आप जितना भी ये लगा लो, वो 2 kilowatt पे 60,000 मिलेंगे. 60,000 rupees. It's a fixed amount. It's not a percentage of whatever total amount of money. You might be buying your solar panel from maybe a branded panel. I might be buying a cheaper panel. पर दोनों को 60,000 ही मिलेंगे. वो फिक्स है गवर्नमेंट का. आप फिर जहां से मर्जी खरीदो, जैसे मर्जी खरीदो. ठीक है ना? Now we come to Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. In this you have PM Ujjwala scheme. This is an older scheme. Okay. So this scheme started in 2016. Prelims mein you don't get a lot of analytical question, but otherwise this scheme is very interesting from the point of view of analyzing what has happened. So the government came up with this scheme. This, if you can see the cylinder, this is for setting up LPG cylinders, bringing LPG cylinders to different households. The target was 8 crore households will get LPG cylinders till 2020. So 4 years ka timeline tha, and the target was achieved. Okay. Tell me this thing, why is the government encouraging the use of LPG? We all use that gas. Urban areas mein everybody has those cylinders. But isko kya, what is so good about them? Women empowerment कैसे होगा कि सिलेंडर वाली औरत जो है, she is more empowered than the one using coal, ऐसे? Okay, health factor, fine. Okay, ठीक है. Okay. So if this gas is not being used, what is being used is firewood, ठीक है, or maybe kerosene or cow dung or something like that. The problem with these traditional fuels is they produce a lot of waste. They produce a lot of harmful gases. They produce a lot of dust particles. They produce a lot of fly ash kind of material. And when that is inhaled, that creates a very bad impact on the health. So the idea was कि इसकी जगह you need a cleaner fuel. And the beneficiaries of this scheme are specifically mentioned as women who cook and children who are at home. Why they don't talk about men as a part of this scheme is that men are usually not there when the cooking is happening. They'll come when everything is done, ki lao, khana lao. That's the man, right? So this scheme specifically talks about women and children and how their health is getting adversely impacted. Organizations, international organizations like WHO, they've done their research where they have big numbers. Ki, okay, these are the number of deaths which are caused by using that wood-based fuel or traditional fuels. So there is a very urgent need for cleaner fuels. Somebody was also talking about time. So yes, time and effort also become slightly smoother with the use of this gas. So the government said कि अब ये जो gas है, again under this Ujjwala Yojana that we are going to give. So they started with this scheme. So purpose is safeguarding health of women and providing and children by providing them with clean cooking fuel, which is LPG. This scheme is going to be in the name of women. This is also a distinct characteristic which you have to specifically remember, that only women can apply, a woman who has achieved 18 years of age. So if there's no women in a household, they cannot be eligible for this particular scheme. Okay, this has to be in the name of a woman, right? And benefit क्या दे रही थी, government दे रही थी, deposit free connection of cooking gas cylinders to low income families. So this scheme is now targeting a weaker socio-economic section. Low income families के लिए scheme थी. The reason why people were not using this is because this is expensive. Do you know how much a cylinder costs? अभी आजकल? So it's currently like without all the black marketing prices which we get in the market, somewhere around 850 rupees. तो हाँ सस्ता है. अच्छा, so okay, so 850 is the current rate of one cylinder. Normal size family might be using one cylinder every month, so which is not a low price. Because you have to compare it with otherwise whatever they are using, that is free. ठीक है, जो लकड़ी काट के ला रहे हैं वो फ्री है, जो काऊ डंग है वो फ्री है. So that is the comparison. Are they able to make that transition? So government said keep the connection, the first setup, all of that we are going to give for free. तो इसमें जो है the provision was, yeah, currently we जो provision है, you start with 1600 rupees to start with. So this 1600 covers the initial cost, the deposit, the cooktop, the booklet, everything which needs. तो उसमें ये setup हो जाता है system, and then every time they get it refilled, so जो standard size है 14.2 वाला, उसमें the government gives 300 rupees subsidy per cylinder. ये है गारंट स्कीम कि हम आपको सेटअप करके देंगे, दैट इज फ्री. सो इट्स अ डिपॉजिट फ्री कनेक्शन एंड आफ्टर दैट व्हेनेवर यू रीफिल इट यू गेट इट चीपर बाय 300. सो दैट मीन्स अभी भी वो 500 रुपीज का मिलेगा. ठीक है, इफ द करंट कॉस्ट इज अराउंड 800, इट विल कम आउट टू बी 500. सो 500 दे विल हैव टू पे एवरी टाइम दे आर गोइंग इन फॉर अ रीफिल. सो व्हाट हैपेंड वाज 2016 दिस came up. 8 crore households were given cylinders. Around very high proportion of that, like the official numbers are 90 lakh people, 90 lakh households never got it refilled. Since 2016, they've never again had a cylinder. So once the government has come and given them the cylinder ki ye lo, ab is pe khana banana hai, but they don't want to go and spend 500 rupees again to get it. So this was kind of a tricky part of this scheme. So then the government tried and updated, and in 2021 again they said कि अभी हम इसका next version लेके आएंगे. So next version क्या होता है 2.0, तो वो आ गया फिर उज्ज्वला 2.0. उसमें they said 1 crore people more will get the benefit of this scheme. So again that target was also completed even more. So this is one scheme where the government is going beyond its target also. 1 crore का था, उन्होंने 1.6 crores दे दिए cylinder. But problem वही है, refilling. And refilling तो जो challenge था वो है ही है, वो continuous है. Do you think other than cost there might be any other factor also which might be discouraging people to use it? Safety concern, okay. Cultural concern. India में कि ये भी this also concept is, the mindset is there कि no, the food doesn't taste very good. कि no, वो coal वाला smoky flavor we need. So that kind of an idea is also there, of course, but cost definitely becomes the biggest barrier. So now this scheme has again been extended for 3 more years. And in this extension, what they have done is they've tried to include more categories of people who can get the benefit of this. Okay. Earlier, there were stricter provisions that you need an Aadhaar card and a ration card and all of that. But the problem which was coming was there were a lot of people who were migrants, who did not have identity proofs of that location. So the updated version of Ujjwala scheme is coming with the focus on migrants. कि हाँ, migrants के लिए ये specifically scheme use हो सकती है, and they can do it without ID proof also. So government came out with a performer where you can give a self-declaration. You don't have to do anything, you just have to mention some things and sign and say कि okay, मुझे ये scheme चाहिए. So now migrant women can also get the benefit of them. That was like the only updated feature which has come in. So they've tried to include more categories on them. So one thing which they are going to be using here, because income is a very important criteria. So data of socio-economic caste census is going to be used, then SC, ST households, then PMAY, the Awas Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana में जो rural beneficiaries हैं, they are going to get the benefit. Then Antyodaya Anya Yojana, most backward classes, forest dwellers, residents of islands, all of these are like designated categories. You need to have some proof कि okay, I belong to this tea garden and ex-tea garden tribes. And ये जो last category है, this is the new part where you have other poor families. This kind of creates an open-ended things, and here even without documentation people can avail this. They have to give a self-declaration and then they can do it. Okay, not people. For this scheme, remember, only women. Women above the age of 18 years. And there were 2 more schemes which were connected to the Ujjwala scheme, not directly a part of it, but which were added to facilitate getting of subsidies. One was the PEHL scheme. So you can go and look this up also. PEHL was for direct benefit transfer. Subsidy में क्या होता है? You get the thing at a lower cost. So if I am supposed to get a subsidy under Ujjwala scheme, so on my card it will be mentioned that I am a subsidy person. So they'll give me it the cylinder 300 rupees cheaper. Rest of the price I pay. In PEHL scheme, so if I joined this, what would happen is that I would get the cylinder for that same rate, but 300 rupees will come in my account. So direct benefit transfer scheme was there. So that could be linked, and another scheme was Give It Up. This was a scheme where people could voluntarily register and say we don't want government subsidy of any kind. So the government initially was selling cylinders at a subsidized rate only. So usme they brought up that you can give up your subsidy, then you will get it a few hundred rupees more expensive. So these were 2 schemes which were linked with this Ujjwala scheme. So since 2016, it's still there. Abhi fir 3 years ka extension ho gaya. So again, it's there. Okay. नेक्स्ट है हमारा मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक. It comes to around that क्योंकि most of the sizes of household is 30 kilowatt hour only. और 60,000 वाला नहीं दिया. ओके तो ये इसमें थोड़ा सा जो है 60% कॉस्ट, आई नो 60% कॉस्ट एंड 40% ऑफ दैट इज देयर, बट वो फिर भी साइज के साथ कॉस्ट वेरी हो सकता है. हाँ वही तो बता रही हूँ ना, पर अगर किसी को बड़ा लगा दिया किसी ने या किसी ने और छोटा लगा दिया तो कैलकुलेशन चेंज हो जाएगी. मोस्टली इट्स गोइंग टू बी अ 3 किलोवाट सेटअप ओनली. ठीक है, तो उसमें 60% ही बन जाएगी वो कॉस्ट. ठीक है ना, बट अगर साइज वेरिएशन हुआ तो भी वही इसमें ऐसे लिखा है कि इफ द साइज of that or the number of panels or the energy produced varies, then cost can vary. Then the government will consider those figures. Usually जिसमें ऐसे वेरिएशन आता है तो लेसर अमाउंट जो भी होता है वो गवर्नमेंट पे करती है. ठीक है, ओके. सो साइंस एंड टेक, इसमें नाउ यू हैव अ न्यूली लॉन्च्ड स्कीम. अगेन a civil servant coming with a fancy name, which is not an acronym. See, for government schemes, you have to keep this in mind that they're almost going to be the same, because it's not that you say कि okay 2026 तक the scheme is going to go on, so उसके बाद जो है problem वो solve हो जाएगी. It's not going to happen like that. So the same ideas have to continue. In this particular thing, there were these 3 schemes. Existing Ministry of Science and Technology के under to promote scientific development, there were 3 schemes. One was Science and Tech Institutional and Human Capacity Building. The second idea was research and development. The third idea was innovation, technology development and deployment. These 3 schemes have now been subsumed into an umbrella scheme called Vigyan Dhara scheme. What do you think can be the advantage of doing this kind of a thing? Bringing schemes in one heading or under one scheme? Combining of schemes? Okay, proper implementation, proper evaluation of the whole thing. कि okay, सही से हो रहा है नहीं. What else? Accountability. Okay, it will make it more accountable. Optimum use of resources. This is one very big factor, that because there are a number of schemes, what tends to happen is that there is duplication. The same people might keep getting benefit, the same people might keep getting excluded, and the same resources could get better distributed. So the biggest justification of kind of creating an umbrella scheme is this only, that you want an integrated approach, you want a better approach towards the whole thing being operated. So ये 3 areas हैं. By their headings only, you should be able to understand. First thing is build better institutions. You want to bring advancements in science and technology, you build better institutions to teach science and technology, to work on science and technology, so that you have better human capacity building. Human capacity building is skilled people, skilled, well-trained, क्योंकि science में to work in this area, you will need a lot of expertise. This is not something which can be unskilled, highly advanced studies needed. तो आप institutions build करो, capacity build करो. In this, there is a specific focus on encouragement to women in science. This is a part, this is a segment of this scheme where they want more integration of women in science. Then research and development. Research in diverse fields, this is important. Again, you can think of the different advanced technologies which we spoke about in the beginning, things like deep tech, critical technologies, strategic technologies, all of those works should happen. And in a research, there is also an emphasis on global integration, global partnership. There should be some linkage with whatever developments are happening abroad to whatever is happening in India. And then, of course, innovation, technology, deployment, new things because of the new problems. And whenever innovation is discussed, startups and entrepreneurs are mentioned. So again, like I told you earlier also, technology की जब भी बात होती है, private involvement, startups, entrepreneurship, that idea becomes very valid. As such, because there's a challenge in job creation, most of the schemes now, they do talk about how you should become job creators, how this idea of entrepreneurship will work, startups and innovation and all of that. ठीक है, तो ये main themes आपको पता होनी चाहिए. Build better institutions, better education, emphasis of women, research and development, global interaction, global collaboration, innovation and focus on entrepreneurship. ठीक है. अब इसके features क्या हैं? Purpose है strengthen the country's science, technology and innovation. Now, here for science, there is no dedicated area or sector, in the sense that once you develop it, it can be used everywhere, right? From space science to maybe textiles to defense technology. सब जगह use होगा एक बार when that whole cycle of creating technology works. Central sector scheme है, central government will give money. The timeline is 21-22 to 25-26. And the nodal implementing agency is Department of Science and Technology. So ये एक special feature है which you should remember कि एक ministry है Science and Tech की. There's a Ministry of Science and Technology. Under that, there are a number of departments. One department is called Department of Science and Technology. So under Ministry of Science and Tech, you also have a Department of Science and Tech. There is a Department of Biotechnology. There is a Department of Industrial Research and a Department of Science and Technology. So whatever is not industrial or biotechnology, the rest of the things will come under this common ministry is Ministry of Science and Tech. ये जो department है, this is much older. This came around in the 1970s, but then there was a need of other fields also. So for that, different departments were created, and then it kind of got a status of a ministry. In this scheme, there are a number of programs which could be linked, but it is supposed to be looked at as a blanket scheme kind of thing also. We are going to talk about the Atal Innovation Mission after this. That can also be linked to this scheme only. Wherever some science research related thing is there, that could be a part of this blanket scheme, the Vigyan Dhara scheme. Ministry है Department of Science and Tech. Department of Science and Tech is the nodal agency for becoming the umbrella scheme of all science related development. ठीक है? Okay. Have you heard about the Atal Innovation Mission or AIM? The Prime Minister calls this AIM. So what is this going to be about? Where is the innovation going to happen? Again, science, technology. Okay, so Amrit जो है concept है related to the time period of independence. So अब तो अमृत वाला तो चला गया time. Amrut. What's the full form? Amrut might be correct. I don't recall the full form. Rural urban trans. आप देख लेना. ठीक है. I don't really want to say something which I can't recall correctly. Okay. The idea of this is to create innovation culture and entrepreneurial ecosystem. Like just now we read in the earlier scheme also, ये दो थीम साथ साथ में जा रहे हैं. Innovate करो और entrepreneur बनो. Okay, so when you get to read some statements also on aims, you should be able to connect. Innovation in technology, whenever that is being discussed, it will be linked somehow to startups and entrepreneur culture. So this is also a central sector scheme. Timeline is till 2028, and this is a Niti Aayog scheme. This is a special thing about it. This was also a question asked. So Niti Aayog has designed this idea, the Atal Innovation Mission. And in this Atal Innovation Mission, you have a number of aspects in this whole framework, some of which have actually become very, very successful. This scheme has been around for a long time, and you have these Atal Tinkering Labs. This is one of the most successful aspects of this scheme. So in Atal Tinkering Labs, what they are doing is deep innovation skills in students. So schools where you have class 6 to 12th children, there you are going to have these tinkering labs, which will make the student familiar with, or will give them an opportunity to interact with some very advanced deep technologies, like maybe a robotics lab could be there, or something on that idea, maybe virtual reality or something. So this has been set up in a number of schools, which has seen a lot of success. So what they do is they also conduct competitions. They also organize events like Atal Tinkering Marathon, and then some of those children actually have set up startups and have become entrepreneurs even at the level of the school. 11th standard ke bache, 12th standard ke bache. So this, in that sense, has also seen a lot of interest, and along with that, a lot of success. Iske alawa, you have incubation centers. Like we spoke about incubation centers. So यहाँ पे भी incubation centers होंगे, a group of startups, universities, NGOs, all of these could be a part to give promotion. And one very big aspect, and in fact a new aspect when it comes to schemes, is Mentor India campaign. Right? Like how important mentoring has become for UPSC aspirants. The same thing for entrepreneurship. Also this idea of actually having mentors. So somebody who wants to start a business, start an idea, develop an idea, they will get access to industry leaders, academia, government assigned mentors. So this kind of a support creates that whole system of, the whole ecosystem of developing new things or new technologies. Then you have New India Challenge, technology-driven innovations, and Arise and Atal New India Challenge. So Arise specifically is going to be targeting one particular area or the other, like defense and space. The achievement of this aim or Atal Innovation Mission is this, that India had a there is this Global Innovation Index. Do you know about the Global Innovation Index? Right, so global framework which will mark different countries. So India was on number 81. ठीक है, India का ranking 5 years ago was 81. After starting of this innovation mission, now India has come under 50. So India's rank is 39. And one of the targets under this scheme is to improve that further. So currently India is on 39 number. Okay. And the reason for the news is just that extension. तो पहले AIM था, फिर अभी AIM 2.0 has come. Nothing much has changed in this. The only thing is, because this scheme has seen success, they plan to continue it with some improvements here, and these are the improvements. Anything new which happens that you should know, okay, that this I will know about. One is a language inclusive program. What will this be? Language inclusive program. What do you think this will be about? Vernacular languages, right? Most of this work in technology happens in English. ठीक है, तो अभी they are saying that other than English also vernacular languages maybe we are going to create programs. Then frontier program. Frontier program means targeting those areas which normally might not get included, like J&K, Ladakh, northeastern states, and some selected districts. The third idea, which we've already discussed, is deep tech. The new thing, the latest technology is deep tech. So deep tech को specifically target करना है for commercializing in startups. Sandbox, the word sandbox again is like an incubator. A group of people will come, discuss startups, mentorship, all of that. Then international collaboration, Atal sectoral innovation launchpads. They want to build platforms where different ministries can get integrated and they can kind of create a smoother system for different startups to work. ठीक है, ये इसमें चीजें नहीं है, बाकी एम 1.0 वाली सेम है. द न्यू थिंग्स आर दिस. न्यू थिंग्स क्या है? एक तो न्यूअर टेक्नोलॉजीज पे दे गोइंग टू बी मोर फोकस. देन लैंग्वेज इनकॉर्पोरेशन दे हैव डन. आफ्टर दैट international collaboration was already there, but yes, one more thing is 10 platforms for ministerial collaboration. ठीक है, तो ये है इसके new और important points. This is a completely central sector scheme. Okay, इस पे एक question था. Questions you will find कि they might not be going very deep. So even if you get like an overview and remember the basic crux, you should be able to solve the questions. So ये है अटल इनोवेशन मिशन का क्वेश्चन. नीति आयोग, ठीक है ना. अटल इनोवेशन मिशन is set up under the Department of Science and Technology, Labor, Employment, Skill Development, नीति आयोग. ठीक है, ओके. We have 2 more schemes. So if you're tired, that information should be helpful for you. Okay. Next है हमारा PM गति शक्ति नेशनल मास्टर प्लान. So again, there was an older government scheme, which was National Infrastructure Pipeline. Okay, there was a National Infrastructure Pipeline portal. The idea in which was that infrastructural development should not happen separately. कि ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि रोड अलग बन रहा है, रेलवे अलग बन रहा है. The train is there, but there is no road to go to the train. Or there is a corridor for transporting goods, but the roads are not wide enough to have those large trucks to carry the goods. So the idea is this, that we must have an integrated approach. So all forms of logistics, all means of transportation, they should be in a common place, or they should know what is happening. कि जहाँ रोड बन रही है, they should know कि okay, यहाँ ट्रेन भी बनेगी, यहाँ एयरपोर्ट बनेगा, तो यहाँ रोड चाहिए, all of that. So for that, the government started a portal. It was the National Infrastructure Pipeline, but अभी उसी को rebranding करके ये न्यू प्रोग्राम बना है, PM गति शक्ति National Master Plan. So when you use a name like this, it looks like कि नहीं कुछ बड़ी बात है, right? Something impressive, something special is there. So let's see what is going to happen here. So this is for providing multimodal connectivity infrastructure to various economic zones, and there are 7 main areas here. So railways, roads, ports, transport, mass transport systems, airport, waterways, and other forms of logistic infrastructure. So all of them are going, and the information related to all of them, that is going to be in one place. There's going to be common coordination happening between all of these, and as a result, like this scheme was announced as a huge scheme, like 100 lakh crores. In fact, 110 lakh crores, those are the figures. कि बोलने में when the announcement was made, it was like 100 lakh crores we are going to spend. The idea is infrastructure building scheme hai. So infrastructure ki jitne bhi schemes hain, everything from like a golden quadrilateral which you're going to make, or a railway network which is going to be established, or a scheme like Udan which talks about bringing in more domestic airports, वो सब इसमें फिर integrate हो जाएंगी. It will be a common portal where multiple ministries will be there. So some 16 ministries are there which have some role to play here, and that whole cost which is there, that 100 lakh crore rupees, that is the integrated cost of all infrastructure development happening in all of this. The only idea of bringing this portal is, or bringing this particular master plan is that yes, they all have to go together, which makes sense also, that yes, multimodal approach will ensure that all of this happens in a better way, because otherwise there are a lot of losses, there are a lot of challenges with productivity. So this improves productivity and it also creates employment opportunity. Employment opportunity का link यही है, more infrastructure development you do, more labor you will be needing, so it creates employment in that sense. And when you do it together, when you do it in an integrated way, then that improves the overall productivity. तो ये है idea. News में ये है because they've recently released that portal. Sorry, not recently released the portal. The portal has been there, but the Labour Ministry has joined that portal. A number of ministries are already there, but Labour Ministry has also joined that. So that was the point of the news. One specific aspect here, which brings some factual information, which I think you should learn, is the idea of mapping. Infrastructure development is taking place in different parts of the country, and in that, there is this provision in this scheme that they'll need to update कि okay, this much, यहाँ से यहाँ road बन गया है, ठीक है, इतना road नहीं बना है और कहाँ बन गया है, with a proper mapping system that has to be updated. So this is an integral part of this portal, and what the government is talking about is all ministries who participate, they'll have access to it. And now they're also talking about making this information available to private players. Like if I am have taken a project of building a road somewhere, or maybe a port construction job I have taken, then it will be helpful if I know कि हाँ यहाँ road कैसे आ रही है, or what has been completed, or how much time do I have to complete my task, like that. So this portal will be available, or the data of this mapping will be available to private players also. So क्या है, dynamic mapping of all infrastructure products in real-time updation, and for that the government has created its own mapping system, and this is a name which you'll have to remember. So BISEC again, so you have Bhaskaracharya National Institute of Space Application and Geoinformatics, and the data is stored on the government's own cloud. So not exactly a part of the scheme, but okay, you should know the name of the government of India's cloud. It's Meghraj. So cloud also they've taken very literally. They're calling it Meghraj. But yeah, it's an open source. That means open source means it will be available for everybody to use, which will give a very good real-time idea of what kind of infrastructure development is happening where. So now with this updation and with this new portal also working, this is the current target which have to be achieved by, which were supposed to be achieved by this year. Targets kya hain? 2 lakh kilometers of national highway, railway to handle cargo of 1,600 million tons, double aviation, double gas pipeline, then power lines, industrial corridors, and defense corridors. Now you can see what a wide range of area this is, and that is why it will involve so many ministries. कि अभी defense ministry भी चाहिए आपको, industrial sector भी आ गया, power, gas, airways, railways, roadways, everything. And in this way, they can also keep a check on each other's development. So we kind of, instead of creating like a separate plan ki road itna banega, they made an integrated plan ki haan, this is what we want to achieve in the stipulated time. So this is what is called the master plan. Okay. Last scheme is Make in India. So what is Make in India? You already know what is Make in India. Atmanirbhar Bharat hai na? Why do we want to make things in India? Bolo. Employment create hoga. We'll manufacture in India. We employ more people. We have this problem of job creation with a lot of people who are jobless even when they are skilled. What else? Okay, so if we manufacture in India, we might be exporting a lot of things. So we might get a lot of interest. We might get a lot of foreign investment also. What else? Boost manufacturing तो करनी ही है. Make in India का यही मतलब है और manufacture करो. क्यों? हाँ, अटल इनोवेशन करेंगे फिर. हाँ? Make India a developed country, right? And this self-reliance, self-dependency is very important. Especially because everything which you buy from outside, it creates a dependency. Like the day China is not happy with you, China can stop a lot of things, which it keeps doing also. कि अब हम ये नहीं बेचेंगे. ठीक है? So you want to make sure that all that manufacturing happens in your country. You're not dependent. Like things like semiconductors, we have to wait for the Chinese gods to be happy and then you're going to get it. So such kind of issues we want to prevent, we want to stop. So we want to be self-reliant, we want to make more money, we want to export more things. And we want to project India as a destination where all the people from all the parts of the world should come and give us all their money, right? Okay. So again, blanket scheme hai, nothing pinpoint. It will extend over all sectors. So this scheme has completed 10 years, 2014 onwards. This scheme has been there. And purpose kya hai? To promote India as the most preferred global manufacturing destination. Currently, what they are working on is they have 27 sectors which they have mapped out. That these are the sectors which we want to work on. कि dedicatedly इनमें we are going to encourage manufacturing में and service sector में, and this will now be called India 2.0. Make in India tha, Make in India 2.0 hai. Again, after a few years, something new has to be done. So if nothing major can change, then also you can take the lessons of what all has happened and then you upgrade it and you call it 2.0. Okay. Coordination, DPIIT for manufacturing and Ministry of Commerce for sectors. इसमें actually sectors का list भी है. ये देखो. So you don't have to learn this, but just read this one to get a little sense of what are the areas. Of course, you cannot learn all of that, but you already know a lot of these basic things. कि services में क्या आता है, manufacturing में क्या आता है, you have aerospace, defense, automotive, pharmaceutical, biotech, capital goods, textile, chemicals, electronics, leather, food, gems, shipping, railway, construction, and new and renewable energy. Then information technology, medical value, travel, transport, logistics, audiovisual service, legal, construction, communication, environmental, financial, and education. Okay. These are some of the schemes which or initiatives which can help in Make in India. Again, there is nothing like dedicated कि ये Make in India का part है. Everything is Make in India का part. ठीक है ना? Everything which you study, right from Aditi scheme where you're talking about production in India, making our own technologies, all of that is in Make in India only. ठीक है, आप किसी भी चीज को, इट्स नॉट समथिंग जो आप डायरेक्टली लिंक करोगे कि ये वो है. हाँ, दी थिंग विच यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड इज कि हाँ, इसका थीम क्या है, गोल क्या है, व्हाई दिस स्कीम इज देयर. दैट्स द इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट्स हियर. देयर आर 4 की एरियाज व्हिच दे हैव मेंशन्ड हियर. सो मेक इन इंडिया में दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट न्यू इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. New infrastructure means everything from roads to housing to offices to railways to air connectivity. Everything has to be improved. Then this idea of new mindset. This new mindset is basically the government's mindset. That initially, you know, when India gained independence, the mindset was the government has to do everything. Steel भी government बनाएगा, bread भी government बनाएगा. That was the idea. So now we're talking about a change in mindset where the government is mainly going to be a facilitator, an enabler, and people are going to do everything. That is the change in mindset. Then new sectors. Again, that idea of a lot of things which we don't do, like deep tech, we want to do this. So even like if India is good in software, we also want to be good in hardware. So we need to get into areas where we are currently not. And new processes. Processes mein, it's mainly again about governance and ease of doing business and relaxing rules for foreign investment, getting more money, participation of private players. Even in areas like where earlier they were not, like maybe let's say space or defense. So such aspects make up this whole scheme. Okay. See, for all of these schemes, if you understand a broader sense, you will be able to solve a lot of questions, and there are a lot of questions, right? Nobody can take away from that fact कि question नहीं आएंगे, आएंगे. But factually, what you need to remember as a starting point for every scheme is at least remember the ministry and remember what it is about. For all schemes, jitni bhi schemes aapne abhi padhi hain, whenever you revise them, maybe you can just make this kind of a list which will be very effective till the last day also for you to revise. Write the name of the scheme, write the name of the ministry, and if that does not explain it sufficiently, write what it is about. Objective purpose या जो भी है, बस उसी को सिर्फ revise करोगे. I would say most of the questions will come out of that only. There are schemes where they ask you specific information also, right? But again, there it will be a limitation that how many schemes will you remember. I remember while I was preparing, I had a friend, so he got through a document like this, and he was one person who was very adamant that I am going to learn everything. He spent, I think, 1 month learning all the schemes. There were 500 schemes, right? And that year in the exam, 4 schemes came. And whatever was factual in those 4 schemes were not there in his documents. Okay, he was able to solve all 4 questions, right? I have to tell you this also, because you kind of develop that perspective, that common sense. But he kept on, everything went well, he cleared the exam also, but he couldn't get over the fact that I read 500 schemes, 4 schemes other than those 500 schemes they were asked in the exam. Okay, so that aspect is always going to be there in the exam, but if you understand the basic premise, you will be able to get through. And it is this confidence which makes all the difference. Those 2 hours of the exam are as crucial as all the years which you have put in till now. Us din, the calmer you are, the more relaxed you are, the less irritated you get when you don't know a question, the better it is going to be. You know the scenario of cutoffs now, right? This year, let's see what will be the last year's cutoff. But usse pehle we know it's close to 75. Okay? So that means most people don't know a lot of questions. The only thing is, if you know something, that should actually be correct. And that'll only happen if you've revised very well, if you're already going into the exam with the confidence that, okay, I understand what this is about, and I'll be able to get the right answer, right? All the best. We're going to end here. Thank you.